From the City of Angels off the Pacific Ocean, good morning, good evening, wherever you may be across the nation, around the world. I'm George Norrie. Welcome to Coast AM. Floating format tonight. Our main guest starts in just a moment. And in the last hour of the program tonight, live at the United Kingdom we go. The greatest storyteller ever born, Lionel Fanthorpe. And happy birthday, by the way, to the father of modern-day ufology, Stanton Friedman. Here's what's happening. The Pentagon is preparing to make troops available, if necessary, to help the Federal Emergency Management Agency, FEMA, tackle a potential outbreak of the swine flu virus this fall. This comes as a government panel is recommending certain groups be placed at the front of the line for swine flu vaccinations this fall, including pregnant women, healthcare workers, and children 6 months and older. What do they know that we don't? The Advisory Committee on Immunization Practices also says that those first vaccinated should include parents and other caregivers of infants, non-elderly adults who have high-risk medical conditions, and young adults ages 19 to 24. The panel, whose recommendations typically are adopted by federal health officials, voted to set vaccination priorities for those groups during a meeting in Atlanta. Who monitors this? None other than Alex Jones, award-winning documentary filmmaker and political researcher and talk show host as well. Alex, another unbelievable story.
Absolutely, George. Just some background. Remember, you led the charge with others in 2002, 2003 with the Model States Health Emergency Powers Act. They ordered 14 million first responders, police, nurses, doctors, county workers to take the smallpox shot. When Health and Human Services Secretary Tommy Thompson wouldn't take it, the whole thing fell through. Under Executive Order 13375, 13,375, that Obama is continuing, it's a Bush executive order, they can have mass lockdowns of cities, use the Army, quarantines, forced inoculations, complete martial law. That is CBS headline. CBS News, DHS sets guidelines for possible swine flu quarantines. Then, of course, you're talking about the prisonplanet.com article that from Paul Watson today that sources CNN, military to work with FEMA during swine flu pandemic. This is what's so sinister about this for all your listeners to understand. I know George knows this, but for some that may not, let me just tell your 16 million listeners this. Ladies and gentlemen, back in March 5th, I did emergency alerts on our websites and on the audio blogs with county commissioners, with emergency managers in Indiana, New York. I received secret state of New York documents with phone numbers, confirmed they were real, with FEMA and Homeland Security getting mass graves ready. This is not speculation. This is not the plastic coffins or things that are questionable, which have now been confirmed. This is official state of New York, up on Infowars.com, scans of the documents saying getting each, even little cemeteries ready for hundreds of thousands dead. The feds went into Indiana and Illinois, two different emergency managers I talked to, and said, get ready for martial law. There will be a massive flu pandemic. They've done drills with police where the citizens try to raid the police departments for the vaccines. Then they, in April, launched the fake hype. When regular flu kills 37,000 a year, this maximum's killed less than 200 in the U.S. They acted like it was the end of the world just to get everybody in fear mode as a smokescreen for the federalization. So it may not be a huge pandemic. It may not be as deadly as they're saying, probably isn't. We know it was manufactured in a lab. Top scientists have looked at it and said that. It may just be a cover story to sell vaccines, which is dangerous enough, but we've never seen this level of movement in preparation. So we know it's staged. We just don't know what they're staging exactly, but it goes from bad to worse, George.
Well, Alex, let me tell you, I think in just a few moments when you hear from G. Edward Griffin and you know who he is about the creature from Jekyll Island, you'll see how all of this comes together. Alex's websites, Infowars.com, prisonplanet.com. Organic food is no healthier, they say, than ordinary food. What? According to a large independent review, there is little difference, they say, in nutritional value and no evidence of extra health benefits from eating organic produce. The Food Standards Agency, who commissioned the report, said the findings would help you make an informed choice. For years, dentists have warned patients about the decaying effects of cola and sugar, of course, fizzy drinks on the teeth. Research shows that other drinks thought to be better, fruit juices, teas, energy drinks, can now also have harmful effects on teeth, turning the pearly whites to shrinking, spotted yellows, marred with pocket marks. Scientists say sipping fluorescent-colored sport drinks, carbonated beverages, and citric fruit juices bathe the teeth in harmful acids. The constant exposure strips the hard protective layer of the tooth, called the enamel, and could dissolve the entire tooth. There's no doubt about using sunbeds or sun lamps. They say it will raise the risk of skin cancer, according to international experts. Previously, the International Agency for Human Research on Cancer assessed sunbeds and sun lamps as probably carcinogenic to humans, but now they say it definitely is. Talk show host and Dr. Dean Adele on the line with us now. Dean, I guess what do? Stay away from these tanning beds?
If you do, you're going to have to stay away from the sun also. There was never anybody rational in this whole deal who thought that tanning beds were any safer than the sun. The sun does cause cancer, and it's a matter of excess. And, putting it in the league with arsenic and tobacco and all that is a little bit of an overkill, as you can imagine. But something that's carcinogenic, potentially so, I guess, has to be put into the same grouping. People who do this excessively, they probably are increasing their risk of getting skin cancer. Most skin cancers won't kill you. There's one kind that could, malignant melanoma, and it does seem to be rising among young people who use these beds frequently. By the same token, if there were young people out there who were constantly out in the sun, the only thing that stops you from doing that, unless you live in Florida, Southern California, is the weather. And that would probably cause the same deal. And, one of the researchers got cornered on this, and he said, come on, what's this all about? And what they're trying to do is simply remind people that there are risks. And yes, they may be overstating it, but the object is to remind people. And, from what I can tell, a lot of people don't go to sun. They do. Some people go to get a suntan. A lot of people go to socialize. People have various reasons. So, moderation in all things. And if not, then what the hell? You must be getting something out of it. It's benefits versus risk, isn't it?
Dr. Dean Adele, he's got his own syndicated radio show all around the country. Thank you, Dean. And here's the bottom line. If you see some kind of strange skin growth, get it checked by a dermatologist. A common and safe blue food dye might provide the best treatment available so far for spinal cord injuries now, according to U.S. researchers. Tests in rats showed that the dye called Brilliant Blue G, which you will find in those blue M&Ms, for example, a close relative of the common food dye Blue Number 1, crossed into the spinal fluid and helped block inflammation. Cancer-stricken actor Patrick Swayze has dismissed reports that he has suffered a heart attack. A spokesperson for the actor, who has been diagnosed now with pancreatic cancer, has denied claims made by the National Enquirer that he suffered the heart scare. Currently, Swayze is working on his biography, The Time of My Life, at his L.A. home with his wife of 34 years. A lawyer for victims of Bernard Madoff and his Ponzi scheme say the financier told him during a 4.5-hour interview in prison plenty details about the fraud, including how it took place and how securities regulators simply missed catching him. The San Francisco lawyer said he planned to use what he learned to add defendants to a lawsuit to be filed in Manhattan this week on behalf of investors harmed by the multi-billion-dollar scam. Madoff, 71 years old, pleaded guilty in March and was sentenced to 150 years in prison. That means he'll be 221 when he gets out. He was taken 2 weeks ago to the Butner Federal Correctional Complex, which is 40 miles or so northwest of Raleigh, North Carolina. And the trustee overseeing the liquidation of Madoff's assets has sued the disgraced money manager's wife, asking for nearly $45 million that he says was spent on a life of splendor. An American Airlines jet was forced to make an emergency landing in St. Louis shortly after taking off after one of its engines was disabled, a collision with a bird. In Khartoum, Sudan, a Sudanese female journalist facing 40 lashes